What is up, guys? This is Brett here from brettdev.com, and today in this video I want to talk about the differences between Thailand and, say, England and Western countries with relation to this whole lockdown and things that have been going on. So last night I was catching up with a friend of mine who I haven't spoke to for a long time, and he's doing alright. He lives in the UK, he's still got his job, he's got a good job, he's got a kind of government job, makes good money and stuff. And he was explaining to me what's going on in the UK with regards to the lockdown, and it was shocking, but I'm not surprised, right? He was basically saying it's like Nazi Germany, you can do this, you can't do this, and it made me think about like how different it is over there compared to here, a so-called third world country, right? Now, if you're watching this from the UK or if you're watching this from America or something, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But I made a video on my channel a couple of years ago, and I'll put a link up to it, where basically I said, it's called Why Britons Are Boycotting England or something like that, where it's basically talking about how I believe that Britain is just a police state, not becoming one, it already is one, right? And people are really quick to point out and say, oh no, look, Thailand has all these problems. Thailand has its problems, right? But how does Thailand's problems really affect people on a regular day-to-day level? Now, having this lockdown and having this problem, like, if it wasn't obvious to you already, it was obvious to me years ago. That's why I came here. But if it wasn't obvious to you already, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Britain is an absolute police state, and the differences from what I'm hearing from people in England and from my family in Ireland compared to here is just amazing. Like, there is, over here, we have very little COVID, but like, there's really nothing's changed, like, other than obviously businesses have been affected due to lack of tourism, but for everybody living here, life hasn't really changed. And the reason for it is the people and the culture. Okay, so you can point out government policies in one country and government policies in another country, but where you live largely doesn't get that, you won't get that affected by those things. What you will be affected by is the culture and the people around you. Now, what I'm seeing from England, from hearing about from my friends, is, you know, it's the same rules but a different culture. So like mask wearing, I've seen so many videos on YouTube where like people have gone into stores without a mask and then other people go nuts at them. Yeah, there's this whole Karen meme going around, which is pretty funny. But in the West, in these Western countries, the self-policing and the self-righteousness and the political correctness that has just infected all of society is just makes life absolutely horrendous for normal people. And that's you know, even down to the actual police themselves. All right, if you get into an issue in Thailand with the police, it's not like a bad issue, but like the police don't hound you and harass you, and they're not like what's the word I'm looking for? Jobsworth cunts. They're not Jobsworths over here, right? So, for example, you could get stopped on your motorbike. You could not have a license. If you have an excuse, if you say, oh man, you know, like I just live around the corner, I was just coming around here, the police is gonna be like, nah, all right then, you know, because it's normal, it's common sense, yeah. Whereas in the West, like I just can't even picture it. Like, I couldn't stand one single day more to live there. It was horrendous. Yeah, I just couldn't bear the policing, the, you know, the snitch mentality of all the neighbours. No neighbours talk to each other, no one's friendly, everyone's out to get each other. Just toxic as fuck. I could not even imagine what it's like now during this lockdown. And like I say, you've got different countries have similar policies, but it's the culture and it's the society that really just wrecks it. Like I say, I was catching up with my friend, and he's got a good job, makes good money, like got a wife and all that stuff, and everything's okay for him. But then he just texts me, he says, I hate this country, you know. And it's like, really made me think, like, how can you live in a place that you hate, and why do people continue to live in a place that they hate? It makes no sense to me. The only thing I can put it down to is just a fear of change, which is so minuscule considering the upside, the huge outcome that you would get by getting out of that place. That little tiny fear of change is what holds people back. It's just mental. I don't have a single friend that doesn't tell me that they absolutely hate living in England, and I'm like, leave! Why do you live there? Yeah? Like, I used to say to people all the time, my family used to live in England, they went to Ireland. Ireland's like a million times better than England, and it's like an hour away. You know, a lot of people won't leave England because they're trained in certain jobs, or they do specific things that they need to get employment, like they can't work online, for example. Well, they could, but they don't want to try, they don't want to retrain or whatever. And I just say, why don't you go over there? Like, you get paid more money, your quality of life is way better, and it's an hour away. No, can't do it, have to stay here for no reason. Absolutely blows my mind. So this video is a bit of a rant, but I mean, I wanted to make it because if you're one of those people, like, you need a fucking slap upside the head, honestly. What is stopping you from leaving? You know, I mean, right now obviously it's difficult to come to Thailand. You don't have to come to Thailand. Why don't you go to Spain? Why don't you go to another country in Europe if you live in England? You know, if you live in America, why don't you go and relocate to Mexico or South America, where you get beautiful weather and it's cheap? And absolutely crazy, man. I'm going to put out a whole video series soon about how my thought process and my decision making in what got me to come and live out here. Also about how I did it and all that sort of stuff, which I'll put a link to up at the top if you're interested. But man, can somebody explain to me why people continue to live in fucking shithole, politically correct countries where you can't do anything? You can't, if you go to work and you brush past your colleague's shoulder, you'll get done for sexual harassment if she's a female. Where men are treated like absolute shit, you know. Tell me why do people stay here? Leave a comment, because I want to know, because all I can put it down to is that little tiny little ounce of fear that you might have. And also, oh well, you know, I need to make a living, you know, I can't afford to live out there, I can't work on, like, that's not an excuse either, because you get paid great money in the West. You know, you could save for 2 years, and the money you'd save for 2 years, you could go to a cheaper country like Thailand or Mexico, even if you don't have a job, and you could at least have a crack at it for a year. You could figure something out. You could go to these countries, see if you can start businesses there, see if you can start a new life. If you can't, you go back and you're just in the exact same position that you don't want to leave anyway, right? So explain to me, tell me why I have these conversations with every single one of my friends. It's absolutely mad. And I only see it getting worse. I don't see it getting any better. From the time I left in 2015, we're now 5 years later, going on 6 years. It's just, from every report I hear, it's got worse. Worse crime, worse illegal immigration, worse political correctness. You gotta do something, guys. You gotta do something to get the fuck out of there. Because if you don't, you're mad. You're absolutely mad. Yeah. If you tuned in to think this video was going to be about how I hate Thailand, sorry to disappoint. It's about, you know, all my friends and every single person that I speak to in Western countries telling me how much they hate it, but they continue to stay there. That's all for today. Tell me what you're doing, what are your plans for the future once this whole lockdown is over. What are you doing to prepare to get out of that environment and get out of that situation, you know, I'd like to hear that. So leave that in the comments below, and until next time guys, this is Brett, brettdev.com, and we're out. Peace.